when I go to the main Johnson County website, you're going to see in the login button actually both D2L, Desire to Learn, and Canvas. June 1st, I'm going to ask that those logins for D2L be removed. Our license with D2L expires the end of June. It's not that you couldn't log in until the end of June. With summer classes starting, I just don't want there to be confusion for students. I want students to understand there's one LMS for the summer, and that will be Canvas moving forward. If any of you do need to get into D2L, online.jccc.edu will be the web address that you can get into that. If you click on that right now, that's pretty much where you're going, is to online.jcc.edu. License expires the end of June. So don't come to me in July and say what happened. I'm trying to prepare you for that. Part of what I'm going to recommend is that you start planning now. If you've got content in D2L, to get it out of D2L, get it over into Canvas. The term I use is migrate. We're going to migrate the content over. I'll talk about, the term between a migrated course versus a source course versus a production course. We'll spend some time going over that. But now would be the time to start planning for that. I will tell you that our plans are to make backups of all of these courses before the end of June, so that if you come to me in August or September and say, I forgot something, we can get to it. It may not be as easy for us to get to that content as it would be right now. The other thing that we're doing is backing up all the current grade information. So if there's ever a grade dispute or anything like that, we can go back and find the grade. We will not be able to teach from D2L, so don't even think about it, okay? But we are trying to make backups of student grade information and also the content, so in case your colleagues didn't get the memo that we're moving to a different LMS. Okay, so when I go into Canvas, let me just today's going to be talking about kind of the layout and everything that we have here. Use your MyJCC username and password. And so the first time you log in, one of the things that you're going to see is, well, right here are some announcements. And so when you start to go into your courses and you start to create announcements, you're going to see them visible on the very first page that logs in. Okay?
That's like the news.
It's like the news functionality within D2L. And so I'm seeing this is a news item or an announcement for the whole institution that I created. If you create, they're going to call them announcements in your Canvas courses, the students will also see them here. So they're going to see them when they log in that very first time. If they go into your course, they will then see a little tool over to the left that's called announcements, and so they can also see them in there as well. One of the things that I can't do is, this is a message I created. When you hit this X over here, you can't recall it. You can't bring it back. And so that's why I'm sorry, but I will periodically send messages out saying D2L is going away, D2L is going away, because I don't want anyone to come to me and say, well, when did that happen? This was something that was asked from our student services area. The waitlisting is brand new. So this week, I think actually tomorrow night, we'll start open enrollment for summer classes. And so if those courses fill up, we can put people on waitlisting. So, they're asking me, can I use this as a way to let students and faculty know? And I said, yeah, sure, that sounds like a good way. Do not ask me for bake sales. I will not put bake sales or anything like that out there. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. But as new announcements show up, they will appear at the very top of the dashboard. The other thing to keep in mind is over here on the right side, there's going to be a to-do list. And this is going to be, as you start to teach your classes and you start to build assignments and you start to put things in there, you're going to notice over here to the side, grade lesson 3, grade lesson 2, grade welcome message, grade assignments, okay? Grade is faculty. okay? It means you are asked to do something. You'll also notice some of these like have 5s and 1s and 4s and 2s. It tells me how many submissions have been submitted. Some of you might say, well, you know, I'm not going to grade that until the weekend. Fine. It's just telling you that you have 5 or whatever number of submissions that have come in to that. If you click on that, that's going to take you right to what we call a speed grader software that allows you to grade them and push those over into the grade book. But this is what, you know, as I start to talk to students, and by the way, you'll hear about this, so I'll be up front. My son goes to K-State, okay? And so when he comes home, you know, he has his laptop open, he's sitting there on the couch or something, and I look over his shoulder and go, Canvas, huh? Yep. And so I've had a chance to kind of observe, you know, from a student perspective, you know, how he manages his courses at K-State and how, you know, how that works. And so as I scroll on down, you'll see it says, take quiz 3, turn in interior product, take exam 2, okay? These are student oriented. So students, when they log in, this is probably a good place for them to look at. And that's what he does. You know, when he logs into Canvas, he's looking over to the right-hand side to see, you know, what is it that he should be working on. It also will tell you a little bit about the course itself, which course, because many students take multiple classes. Just like you teach multiple classes, this is going to tell you a little bit on the second line what specific course you're talking about. If you had any due dates attached to it or point values, it's also going to have that attached down to the bottom. So I'm going to just kind of tell you, that's where my eye goes when I'm in class starting to teach and grade. I'm looking over here to the right side to see, is there activity that might be going on? And then also you can help point your students to that. If you put due dates and deadlines and stuff on things, they can see that right over here on the right as things go forward. As I scroll on down on the right side, you're also going to hopefully see things like calendars. And so, you know, once again, there might be some things coming up, maybe not this week, maybe the next week. We can look in there. Feedback right down here at the bottom. As faculty, as you all go out and you put grades into the grade book, as you put comments into things, students will start to see any feedback down here on the lower right as well. And so that's things I'm sharing with you because you may help your students see where they can find this. Thing to keep in mind though, if they're taking multiple classes, there will be lots of stuff accumulating over here in this right-hand side. Okay. Any questions about that so far?
If you want to make your particular course more obvious, could you like put it in a different color, or are they always blue?
Well, here's what's going to happen. Up here, these are called cards.
Yeah.
Okay, these cards, if I say the 3 dots, I, the individual user, can decide what color that card is going to be. So I could say this is going to be a red card, and the next one's going to be a blue card or a green card. That color tracks back to the calendar. So if there are events or assignments in a calendar, you know, one class would be green, one class would be blue, one class would be, you know, whatever color. This is customizable per user. So you might say, I like red for this class. The student might go in and say, you know, that's not a good color for me. I'm going to choose a different color. So really, do not tell students to go and click on the red card because they may have chosen a different colored card to work with.
So that would be up to them, basically.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. What will happen though is it will distinguish different classes. Okay, in a calendar you will see one color for one class, and another class will be in a different color to work with. The same thing is true for nicknames. All of you will get classes coming in from Banner, okay, or from a migration process or a source course. And typically, you know, that's what's going to show up right here in this area. But you can give it a different nickname if you want to. Some of you might say it is a Monday, Wednesday morning class, or a Tuesday, Thursday, 3 o'clock class, or an evening class, or the class from hell, okay? I mean, that nickname is only seen by you, okay? The students might say class from hell in their nickname as well. But
Can we give them different levels of hell?
yeah, they could, yeah.
Okay, some
Purgatory, whatever you want. But the nickname is for you, the individual user. So some of you might decide that you're going to name it something different. You know, just like I said, maybe you say it's a Tuesday, Thursday AM class, or it is a, evening class or something along that line. You can put in whatever nickname you want to, and then you can also choose whatever card color you want. And then that will ripple through into the calendar as the event starts showing up there. Does that make sense with that? Okay. Now the other thing you're going to start to notice is on these cards will be icons. And the icons will represent, once again, content or assignments that you started to add in. So you'll see this one here that is green. There's no icons there. Probably because there's no content inside of it or limited content. As I scroll on down, you'll see that some of these icons actually have numbers next to them. This represents something new, maybe since the last time I've been in here. These little bullhorn looking things, that's announcements. So there's some announcements out there that I could take a look at. Dropbox, this would be something maybe like an essay that I might upload or a paper that I'm collecting. The little discussion boxes might represent a discussion that's ongoing. There's stuff starting to accumulate there. So these are kind of related to what's going on over here. These are more graded issues. These are things that you would probably go to the grade book. These might be that there's activity going on inside the class, okay? So don't get worked up if you log in right now and you go, I do not see anything over here. I do not see anything here, okay? It's probably because you're going to start building things. There will be a day when you go, I hope I don't see any more stuff over here, okay? Just trust me, it'll start to accumulate out over a period of time, okay? So these are called cards. The other thing that you'll see is that on those cards, we can attach images into the background. I'll show that to you here in a few minutes, but if you're not good with images, come upstairs. We will find images for you. Okay, I am also not good with images. So I go, Bob, find me an image. And it needs to look like this, okay? And so, our staff can help with that, find something that might be appropriate for your class. The images, the students cannot change. They can change the card colors, but they cannot change the images. If the colors bother you, you can take that color off by going up here to the dashboard, ... and actually turning off the color overlays, if that's what you want to do. I don't know, I guess I never thought about it, but in this case here, I did do that. So that is up here with the ... Vertically means there's more information behind there. So wherever you see that appearing in Canvas, you can click on it. It will give you more details and data. All right. Account. So when we go into Canvas, you're going to see up in the upper left corner, my picture. It's not that I like my picture. It's just a profile picture. And you have the ability to use whatever profile picture you want if you want one. You can go into profile under account and you can come over here to this little icon and you can actually upload something. If you have a camera on your computer, you can just take a picture that way and size it however you want to. I tell students in training that it's not required. I'm not requiring them to put photos out here. I have told students though that sometimes those profile icons attach themselves to a class list or maybe within a discussion or something like that. So I've had students maybe put a flower out there, a kitten, a dog, something like that, that helps me, as I look at that, I go, oh, there's a rose for Rose, and helps me. So as an instructor, you can decide which one you want, okay? I was in my office looking at my computer. I don't know if I like that, but hey, I just put it in there. Anything else in here is entirely up to you. It's not required. any of this contact information, biography, all of that is basically just part of the system. It's not required. Okay.
Do the students see that?
Yes, they will see the same edit information that you would see. And once again, it's not required.
But they'll see yours. Like
They will see mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they go into the people button, they're going to see a class roster, so they would see my picture in there. If I contribute something in a discussion, they might see my profile picture in that discussion thread. So
I think they can see other students too.
they can, yeah. And that's something that we can talk about is that, you know, if you don't want them to see each other, you can drag the people button off of the menu. Now, you're still going to see their pictures if they participate in a discussion, okay, or something along that line. Notifications, let me talk about that. One of the things that D2L has that Canvas also has is the ability to notify me, specifically, I'm going to say the student, if something's going on. So if I put an announcement into my course, that would be like the news tool in D2L. The announcement tool or notifications tool would say, send me an email immediately. All students automatically will have their StuMail account put into Canvas, okay? And they can't get rid of it. It's there. All the defaults for StuMail will say if I send them announcements, immediately copy that announcement out to an email address. All of you as faculty will automatically have your @jcc.edu address in here. So if I were to go into this iTeach class and put an announcement in there, okay, you will probably get an email coming into your JCC account with that. When you go into notifications, you can change those. You can change it from being a checkbox, which is immediately, to a clock that is once a day, to a calendar that is once a week, or you can say, Ed, I don't want to hear from you. Just click me, cross me out, and you will not get any message at all. Now, that applies to all classes, okay? It doesn't say only one class or another. This would be for every class. You're either turning this on or you're turning that off for that, okay? We cannot do this for students. And so, part of my training for students is to say, this is something very important that you really need to think about how you want to be communicated with. I really suggest that they keep the announcement thing on. Like the other day, we lost power. Did any of you have to cancel class because of that? We were out power here. So, if I was teaching a class, I might use the announcement system to say, go home, even though there was a text message that went out, I could have used it for that. Grading over here, if there is something that I've put into the grade book, the student would get a notification. We're not sending the grade. We're just saying we have graded something, and then they have to log in to take a look at that. As I scroll on down, you're going to see other things that we can generate notifications on. Discussion posts, if you participate in discussion, that can happen. We call them conversations in Canvas. Canvas does not have its own email. In D2L, we had online@jcc.edu. That's going away. That was a D2L thing. Canvas does not have its own email. What it has is what I would call a message broker, that anything that starts in Canvas will be forwarded out to either StuMail for students or to your @jcc.edu account, depending upon how you have highlighted this. Most cases, the default is going to be for students to automatically send them an email for a conversation that has been added or a conversation message that's going back and forth. So you would have to go out here and basically say, this would be emails going to my @jcc. Do I want a copy of that, maybe that I have created? Some people have said, well, is this dumb thing working or not? Okay, so I could say, yes, send me an email or to my, JCC account if I have created that conversation within the system. Conversations can come from our inbox in Canvas. They can come from, I could be in my grade book in Canvas and say, Johnny, you're not doing very well. Send him a message, okay? And that's what we would call a conversation that would be going on.
So it's possible, like right now, I tell my students, only be on D2L, I don't want you on my other. So it's possible if I unclick them, everything's gonna stay in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there would be an icon over here on the inbox that would tell me what's going on there. The other thing that Canvas is doing is passing those outside, and as that arrives in your inbox, there's actually a token in that email that remembers where it came from. So if I reply, it will come back to Canvas and then typically go back out to a student. So here's an example. A student sends you an email, something within Canvas. You get it in your Office 365, whatever, and you say, nice, Johnny, I'm glad you're in my class, blah, blah, blah. Reply, comes back into Canvas and then goes out to their stu mail. So it kind of comes back in, so you're always gonna have a record of that here. Now, if they send something to your @jcc.edu, it doesn't go to anything within Canvas, but there is a tracking process that maybe you want to use. I'm going to send all my students an email at the very beginning of the class, welcoming them to the class. That then starts the conversation about who replies and what is tracked inside of here. Okay. The other thing is, besides all of these notifications, is if I come over here to settings, you can actually add in other email addresses, and that's true for the students as well. Some of you have indicated that you're adjuncts. Thank you, by the way, for being adjuncts, okay? It's a lot of work, but you might have another email account that you're checking. Please check your JCC email, but maybe there's another account that you might be monitoring on a regular basis. You can add in another email address in there, okay? And have it sitting there side by side with the JCC email. Students can do the same thing. I have students that, they tell me they never check their email. Shame on them, they should be. Also down here, it says other contacts. That would be for these devices here. For some reason, my kids and students all seem like they like these things. But you could set up what we would call a notification text that would say, you've got grades, or there's an announcement about, class being canceled or whatever like that. And this is where individuals would do this.
Would it automatically forward the message, or just let me know that I have to get onto this site to read the message?
No, you would not need to go to this site.
So in effect, it's forwarded to
Correct.
my, okay.
And then you're going to see the same, if you add a phone text account, if I just grab this over here, it's going to ask for the carrier and all that stuff. And then if you go back over here to notifications, you'll have the same options as far as, do you want to receive those immediately, or do you want to receive them or not? It's just an on-off switch, like right here, that you're going to see those. Now, I cannot set those up for students. Students have to do that themselves. So I guess if you like this functionality, you may have to just remind your students that I'm going to be using the announcements tool to send things out. Or if you want to know when I grade something, go into the notifications and click on the grade thing, and you will know exactly when I grade this thing. Stop bothering me, okay? So, I'm just kind of letting you know that a lot of that comes back to this settings, that I can add more things in here. Another thing that you'll notice is that Canvas is really big on third-party softwares. So if you are using anything within Google to store things and put things into maybe your LMS, you can actually attach your Google account directly to Canvas, which means then you have access to documents within Google. You can bring those in, maybe presentations or whatever else you might have.
I'm just going
Go
to
ahead,
ask,
go ahead.
I have all my lectures, at least the outline, on,
OneDrive?
well, no, it's on D2L under content.
Okay.
And so what I need to do is take those lectures and put them into a Google Drive and then drop them there. Is that how it's done?
When you say lectures, are these recordings of your
No,
lectures?
I'm sorry, these are just sort of outlines of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So that they miss a class, they
Okay.
can see it.
No, I think that if they're just outlines like Word documents or PDF files and stuff like that, we will migrate those over for you. We will take them from the files location within D2L and put them into the files location in Canvas.
So there is a content page on this, but I don't have to use a Google Drive.
Correct,
Right.
correct, yeah. What I'm starting to see, and you might also see this, is that we have students that they want portability, okay? You know, they may log into a computer in the lab, they may be at home, like my son came home last night because he was hungry. Well, he's from K-State, not really, but he needed money, that's what he did. So, you know, he could sit on the couch and access his course files at home just like he could back in his dorm room versus, you know, wherever he was at. So a lot of people are starting to use this flexible cloud technology. It's there. Now, as instructors, you might think about this because once again, it's portable. You know, you can go various different places and those files are there. You can work on them and use those. You know, years ago we had little thumb drives, little flash drives. Some of you come in and you will cry because it doesn't work. Don't tell me it doesn't work anymore, Ed. What? You know, and it's, you know, they have lifetimes and something goes wrong with those. So I'm just telling you that these are things that we're seeing more and more of within Canvas, is the ability to work with systems that are out in the cloud more and more. Okay. So files, as we start to bring in content from migrations, you're going to start to see a course files button. You're going to see folders out here that will contain information from other classes. So this is kind of letting you go to a big, large filing cabinet and see what's inside of all these different classes that you have brought over. The thing that go ahead.
If I were to change the name of my migrated course to something that I absolutely knew what it was, would it change it?
Well, we can find out.
Okay.
Okay. I can't guarantee, but that's what I would probably look at. The thing that you have to understand about Canvas is that, first of all, it is a cloud-based system. What does that mean? Well, D2L right now is over in the basement of the Rainier Center. It's on a bunch of servers that just sit there, and we maintain these servers. And if the power goes out, then that's kind of an issue on our campus because it causes issues. Canvas is a cloud-based system, which means that it uses Amazon Web Services all over the world. It's replicated in different places. So if one part goes down, there's another that's duplicated in different places. I mean, that's good. The other side I think you need to hear is that Canvas, because it's cloud hosted, is shared with thousands of other schools. And those thousands of other schools are on the same upgrade path that we are. Every 3 weeks we get updates, whether we want them or not. I shouldn't say that much. But every 3 weeks they update things. So K-State gets an update. We get an update. Emporia State gets an update. Pittsburgh State. All these schools that use Canvas get updates at the same time. You know, with D2L, we could say, oh, we're going to wait until the middle of the, you know, the end of the semester, and then we're going to do everything at one time. With Canvas, it's every 3 weeks. We do have the ability to selectively turn things on and off, and I'll show you basically as instructors, if you hear that, oh my gosh, Ed, they have this new feature that I've been waiting for, and it's in the newest release. I got to have it, okay? So as instructors, you could go in and turn it on for courses, even though maybe we're not turning it on for all the other classes on campus, and I'll talk about that. But the important thing to know is that when I fill your announcements list every 3 weeks with a little video, it's because I'm letting you know what has changed and working with that. All right, any questions about account and that so far? All right, I'm going to go back here to the dashboard, and what you see on the dashboard in my case would be classes that I have specifically tagged to appear. And the first time you log in, you may have a very, very long list of lots and lots and lots of classes. If you want to reduce that number down, you can go into courses, come down and say all courses. And over here on the left, you're going to see little stars. These little stars are tags that will basically tag it or flag it to appear on the dashboard. First time you come in, you're going to see pretty much everything. But then if you start to put a star over here, that's saying this is the course I want to appear on my dashboard. As you start to come across here, you'll see the name and then a nickname. If you put a nickname in here, Monday, Wednesday afternoon class, that should help you in that. You're going to see term. So right now we have been building classes in Canvas since the fall of 17. So if you have been teaching classes for us back in the fall and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're probably going to see past courses and fall of 17 is there. You're also going to see current classes like spring of 18 appear. So moving forward, you know, we're just basically moving classes from present to past. In the past in D2L, we would periodically say, okay, we're going to clean out classes from 2 years ago. We will not be doing that moving forward.
But this is not the migration you're talking about.
No.
It's just the category.
It's a category, but if you request a course to be migrated from D2L to Canvas, you will see a term called migrated. And that will basically be your copy of your course from D2L. You may also see something down here that says source courses. And I'll talk about what is Ed talking about when he says source courses versus migrated courses. It's just a way for us to separate maybe your environment to try things out versus a production environment. You know, my strategy is try it out over here in your sandbox before you go over and start, I wonder what this button does. Oh, geez, I guess I just fired off an email to the entire class telling them they got an F, okay? So, you know, and to be honest, you have live classes out there right now, okay? You have live classes in the spring of 18. There are students in them. The difference is that over here to the very far right is a column that says published. Published means visible to the student, okay? If it says no under published, yeah, you've got students in there, but they cannot see this course until you say published. What happened back in January is that we have faculty that have said, yeah, I'll do this, Ed. I'm going to take it on. And I started getting calls from faculty saying, well, I can see it, but my students say they can't see it. And so when I look, I say, well, you didn't publish this class.
Right.
And so when you publish it, it then opens it up. We are currently talking about moving forward for the summer, the college will automatically publish these courses so that you don't have to worry about, you know, oh, did I hit that button or did I not hit that button? Right now, it works because we have two LMSs. I mean, some of you might still be using D2L, some of you using Canvas, so that publish button has a important role. But for summer moving forward, we really probably want you to use the Canvas, at least for gradebook, if anything, so that students can see how they're performing and how they're doing. So right now, not published or no means students cannot see that. And as I scroll down, you'll see I don't have a life. I have way too many classes. Now, here's the other thing that happens is that when a course reaches the end of the semester, okay, it moves from a current status to what we call a concluded status. Just like in D2L, we have end dates for courses. So when that end date passes, it moves from active to concluded. In a concluded state, your access to these classes will still be there, but the ability to change grades will be removed. So we are moving the end dates to help you guys out 2 weeks into the future. So let's say we had May 15th as the official end date of the class. We're going to add another 2 weeks onto that. So you'll have until the end of May to go out and work on that. But after that end of May, you know, we're kind of concluding it. We're moving it down to the bottom, okay? We're going to take it off of your dashboard. Even if you started that thing, we're going to take it off the dashboard and put it down here. And, you know, you will not be able to change anything in there, okay? And I think there's good things to that in that, you know, it gets you out of your way. It prevents you from going out there, oh, dang, I'm in the wrong class. Okay, if it's a past class, it's removed from that.
What does that concluded status mean for students? Can they still get into the class?
No,
No, so they're done.
they're done.
Okay.
They're done. I mean, it will take it off of their dashboard as well.
But then they can't get into it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, they may see it down here under past enrollments, but at least you as faculty, you can still click on this,
But they will not.
but they will not be able to do that. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you are going to give an incomplete, okay, you're going to need to go in and change that end date probably. If that's the strategy you want to use, you might say, well, I'm going to extend access for this course for Johnny because I'm going to give him another couple months to work on this. You would want to go in and change that end date if that's your strategy. If for some reason it concludes, okay, I am the LMS God, so I can go in and I can change that end date for you in that class, and then you would have access to that again. So I'm just talking about these things because, you know, pretty soon it's going to be the end of May, and you're going to see these classes drop down, and it may look different because we are sort of removing some of the editing functionality from those classes. So, you know, grades won't be able to change or anything like that. Okay?
Can you still like in D2L you can copy from one class to another? Can you
Yep,
copy?
absolutely.
Okay.
You can copy from a concluded class.
Okay.
So when you actually go into the copy command, it will say, do you want to include concluded classes? And you'll say, yeah, sure, I want to grab stuff from last semester that I was working on. Yep, absolutely. You can do that. Okay, so does this make sense? You got these columns published, what role you have, what term, all that kind of stuff is out here. All right. Some of you may have groups that show up, some of you may not. Some faculty may use a group within a course for like discussions. This is why it's showing up on mine. Bob Ann Kalkofen is teaching a class where she has one group of students that are doing a project in flooring, another project in walls. And so, you know, she said, Ed, I need some guinea pigs to try this out. So she put me in her class. And so when I come in, I see groups. And so if you use the groups functionality within a course, you may put these 3 students in this group and these 3 students in this group and these 3. That's when this icon shows up, is that you have created groups or you are in a group, and that kind of helps separate that. It did not show up on my icon list until just last week. Where did that come from? And when I clicked on it, I go, yeah, that makes sense. That was the class that I was helping her with. And so if you do any kind of groups functionality, it will show up. If you don't worry, okay? I can add you in a group if that makes you feel better, okay? But that's really kind of what we're talking about is functionality within the course itself. Calendar. This is where, like I said earlier, that you have a calendar that might show multiple things going on. Now, I'm such a nice instructor. I don't use a lot of due dates for iTeach. So if you guys are out there saying, when does he want it? Okay, I'm very nice. You know, sometimes it's months later, okay? But this is an example where I have put in some items into the calendar, and you can see that it is green. It indicates that this was the class over here. As I looked over my son's shoulder when he was looking at it, he had lots of stuff showing up on this calendar. And I'll tell you that the K-State faculty use it a lot. Okay, they put a lot of things with due dates in there.
So is it just the due date that shows up
That's
there?
one thing. Yeah, the due date would be the thing that shows up. You can also, as an instructor, put other event dates in there. You know, it might be like a field trip or something that you're doing. But if you go into any of your tools and say due date, that's what shows up on the calendar here. And then the color will be attached to that from that course. You'll also see over here that you will have your own personal calendar. And this is something that students could also use. Maybe they're going to do a study group or something. And so they could go out and actually use their own personal calendar and add something onto this calendar that way. Because it's their own personal calendar, they can go in here and they can drag it to a different date if they want to. And see, what you can do is, because you will be owning due dates, you can do the same thing. So if you have a due date in here, let's just say that this was a due date for a quiz. If you drag it to a different date, it changes it back inside of Canvas automatically for you. Yeah, don't you like that?
That is
Okay.
amazing.
So that helps with that.
You're not saying it syncs.
Yes.
Yeah.
It syncs
So
like
it changes the Dropbox or whatever, it changes all of that.
But I have to go in and say, you're allowed to look at my personal calendar. I mean, how is it?
No,
No, I'm talking about class calendar.
Only you would be
okay.
able to do that.
I was gonna say, because sometimes I would
No.
have,
No, this would be like a due date for a quiz or a project.
okay.
So sometimes you might look at that and say, oh, I'm packing too many things in right there. Why don't I drag this over and I'll make it look a little bit better? So that will automatically go back to the tool itself and change the due date back in the system.
And so my class would only see the green things if I wanted it, and the personal one is something I would see.
Correct.
Just in not my students.
Yeah, students can hope that you would change the due date, but they
Right,
can't
right.
change it, okay?
Sure.
Yeah. But they would be able to use their own personal information in here the way they want to. Okay. Now, because Terry got excited about that.
Yes.
What we're also kind of liking is that as you go from one semester to the next, we know that as you work on stuff, you know, you're going to really fine tune this thing and it's going to look really the way you want to. You can then copy content from one semester to the next and actually push those dates forward.
What?
Yes. So let's say that you have a class from, I'm going to say from the spring, that might have been
So
January.
just like auto-populate them?
Yeah, it's a push process.
Ah,
So let's say it started on January 15th and went till May. I'm using rounding things. And you can say it's going to start August,
mhm.
okay, 15th, and go until December 15th.
And we'll just move them.
It will automatically push those dates forward
And then
for
just drag them.
and then you can fine tune them
Right.
if you
So
want
it's
to.
always one day off.
Yeah, I mean, you got spring break,
Right.
you got Thanksgiving.
But still, you don't have to go
But
manually
no,
put
you're right,
them in.
you're right, so you
That'll
just
be
drag it,
easier.
right.
So I want you to think about that as we get ready. It might not be today I talk about the import process, but when we do a copy, you can do something called shifting dates that you can push those forward for that. Okay, and these are toggle switches, so if you want to turn things on and off, you just simply click up here. So maybe you didn't want to see a certain class, you just click on that and it goes away or it goes back on again. So, you know, once again, you can visibly see what you need to see at the time you're working on. Here's another thing that I haven't tried out, but here's the concept. If any of you ever do office hours or you have conferences with students, you can use this scheduler tool within the calendar and say, scheduler, I'm going to go out and create an appointment group and basically divide that into segments. So you could go out here and say, divide these into maybe 15-minute segments or 30-minute segments. And then what happens is that the students can go out and sign up for these slots. Okay, this brings back painful memories for me when I was a freshman in college and had to go talk to my composition instructor, you know.
No, I was just thinking some grades.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but what this allows is for you to organize a period of time and allow students to go into Canvas and sign up for that. Okay. So, you know, if that's something that you currently do, this would allow you to help use Canvas to organize that.
Do their names then appear on yours?
No, I'm pretty sure on yours they
Your
will.
calendar,
Yeah,
yeah.
on the teacher's calendar, but it just would show the available slot.
Okay.
So if Johnny took it, it wouldn't say Johnny's taken it, just say it's not available
Okay.
to sign up for that. So, and some people use it for office hours too. Maybe they try to say, I'll be in my office for a couple of hours this afternoon. And if you want to slot, 15, 30 minutes, here's how you would do that. Okay. I haven't used it personally, but that's basically the design behind it. It's all tied into the calendar tool. All right. Inbox. We talked about this briefly, that this is a communication tool from inside of Canvas. It's not the email, it's the communication tool. If I come over here to the little pencil right over here towards the center and I say compose, I can say what class it is that I want to send a message to. And then I say I want to send it to all the students. Now, it is not an email tool. You will not see bold, you will not see italicized, you will not see all fancy things here. The reason why is those messages maybe will end up here, okay? And you can't do bold, well, maybe you can try, but it's very difficult to bold a text message. So look at it as a very simple communication. Welcome to my course. Hope to see you. Or Johnny, I need to see you, okay? And what's nice is that, once again, when you send this out, it goes here, and then it forwards out to their StuMail account that way. But it's a very simple thing. Do not try to put a lot of complexity into it. Do not think about colored fonts, bolding, or anything. It's a simple communication tool that goes out that way.
But you've got attachments there, right?
Attachments are going to be like a Word document or something that you would have to come into Canvas to take a look at.
Okay.
Okay, you're not going to see it in the StuMail account. You're not going to see it inside of the JCC email.
So does it tell you like there's an attachment? It tells you you have to go into it.
You'd have to come
Okay.
back into Canvas.
But
to
so if
take
they
a
got
look
the
at that.
text on their phone, they would know. It would say
Well, yeah.
there's an attachment.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, don't get too excited that it's going to go on to StuMail. There's going to be an indication that that is there, but they're going to have to log back into Canvas to see all the details with that. But there's not a lot. I mean, there's,
But they'll get a message and they'll see there's an attachment. So then you go to some content page here, and there the attachment would be.
well, actually, it would probably be right back here. If I go into the inbox and I would look right here, there's going to be a message. Now, I don't know that I have any attachments, but I would click on that, and then I would start to see a paper clip that would indicate that there's something here. Now, you can put in web addresses in there if you want to, and that would come across with that. So,
Or sometimes I'll see a YouTube that I'd like them to see. Can I attach a YouTube and then have them go into this
Well,
and actually see it?
you really can't attach it to YouTube. You
Put the link in there.
you can put a web address in there.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like what you have.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, right now I get emails now from Canvas, and they're very simple. Okay, they're not dissertations. They're very simple things, and then it kind of points me back to Canvas, saying for more information, come in here, and you click on it, and it will actually launch Canvas for you. Now, because I'm talking about that, Canvas does have 2 apps that you can install. It has an app just called Canvas for Students. You go out to the App Store, either the Android App Store or the Apple App Store. Canvas for Students basically lets you, as a student, log in. You can see your due dates, your calendar, all of your assignment information, your conversations, discussions, your grades. So pretty much everything that you see inside of Canvas, you would see on that app. Yes, unfortunately, they can take quizzes on this thing. And I really strongly discourage them from doing that, but there's nothing I can do in Canvas that says no. Okay?
So you can sit around and
They can, but I tell them, there could be quizzes that might include graphics or things, and that You know, I know my eyes are getting bad, okay?
That's
But,
what I
yeah. But thank goodness my son hasn't done that. I mean, he has his laptop out and he's doing his stuff on his laptop. And I really think that's the majority of students, is that they're going to use a larger computer and use this maybe as a way to sort of stay on top of things. You know, there's new messages coming through. There's also an app called Canvas for Teachers. And what this is going to do, it's free on both devices, is going to give you kind of a notification like we saw on the to-do list on the right, that you have new stuff coming in. You know, there's new conversations, there's new assignments. And you can actually click on those and see those submissions. Now, once again, I don't think you want to grade an essay on a phone, okay? But you could if you really wanted to, all right?
If you're
So,
at gymnastics and you need to wait.
sure, that might be true, yeah.
I've stepped through those gymnastics meets, yeah. Especially level 4 when it's all, yeah.
Okay, so I can see what you guys are going to do with your apps, but it would let you look at things and actually grade, okay, from the apps that you have on those. So there's 2 apps. One is for students, one is for teachers, and so it doesn't cost anything to go do that. All right, so you're comfortable with the inbox. There's a thing over here that I can say, show me all the conversations only for, let's say, one class. So if you want to go back and see kind of filtering it, you know, what happened in this class here? You know, maybe there's something going on between you and Johnny, back and forth, back and forth. You could go in and actually filter up here at the top of the inbox only by certain courses for that. Okay. So that's kind of handy, because a lot of times when you look in your inbox, you go, where are you, what class are you in? I don't know where you're from, okay? Commons. All right, I'm going to throw a term out there. Angel. Okay? Does that ring any bell? Okay. So Angel had something called a LOR, a learning object repository. Okay, the LOR, the concept behind the LOR was that you could put stuff in the LOR and share it with other people. Or you could store it for yourself and reach into it and grab things that you might need. And it could be an entire course, it could be quizzes, it could be course files, it could be lots of different things. Canvas has something similar to that. They call it Commons. The major difference between that is that this Commons is being shared with the other 1,000 institutions that use Canvas. Now, before you get too worked up about it, the first time you come in, it's going to say, do you want to be part of Commons? Now, I'm not asking you if you want to share your stuff, okay? It's like a ticket to get into an event. I didn't say you had to get up in front of everybody and sing or dance or do anything like that. Commons is saying, let me in, and I might look around. If I'm brave and I want to share, sure, you can share if you want to. We're not forcing anybody to do that. The thing that we're looking at is, in addition to all thousands of colleges, universities, K-12 schools that have access to that, we can also set up special groups within Commons for departments. And we can put only those faculty that are in those departments in that Commons area. I think from an adjunct perspective, this might be really attractive, because we as chairs and administrators can start putting things into this common area that you guys could reach into and pull into your courses if you want to. What we typically do is we identify one person as a group manager that can put things out there, and then the group manager approves who comes into this group, and then you have the ability to pull stuff in. Let me just show you a couple things that you might think about. In the Commons area, you see these little icons that say entire courses, modules, assessments, quizzes, discussions. Okay, I can come over here and maybe put in a topic. Does anybody have a topic we want to search for? Public speaking.
That might be interesting.
It's a different.
Come on, public. Come on. Okay, so right now what it's doing is it's going out and looking at all of these things. Now, some of these are entire courses. I can also go up here and say filter it by the grade level. So I can bring it all the way up here to, I'm not saying there's not good stuff at
Right.
K-12. There's really good stuff that we probably should be cognizant of. But right now what I've done is found some public speaking quizzes. I found entire courses. Now, what you can do with these is if you have, let's say, an empty course, and I'm going to use the term source course. You can go ahead and basically drop this right into an empty course and see what that might look like. When I first saw this back in the summer, I got very excited, and I asked for like 5 or 6 source courses. Ooh, cool, that looks great. I put it in there and I go, oh, yuck, But there is some good stuff, really good stuff out there. And the other thing that you'll start to see as you go through Canvas, you'll see import from Commons or export to Commons. So before you completely say, oh, I don't think I like that, I think at least look at it and see what might be out there. I took a look at what was there. I pulled some things that I could kind of use. It's a Creative Commons approach. So it's basically saying if this is content that you have developed yourself, you can share it with others and that way. I would not take publisher content, and put it out here. Probably not a good idea. But if you've done your own stuff, that's something to keep.
So the stars, people reading it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you'll find out, when was it uploaded? Who was the person? I was looking for some stuff the other day on OER, open resources. Came across some really cool stuff, and it was from Emporia State. There was an instructor down there that was doing a lot of stuff on open educational resources. So, close by, people are using that. Okay, so does that make sense? Commons, it's kind of that repository. If you are, a chair or you're in a group that you want your own JCC group, let me know. I'll create a group for you, and we can start, putting stuff in there that you can share with your people on campus.
Can you have groups between schools or between instructors at various schools?
Yeah, actually, I think there was. Over here under of course, this is Ed, I'm God. I think I can do that. Okay. Not positive, but I think they call those consortiums that you could do that. But that's a good question. I might have to go out there and take a look and see.
Well, I'm teaching marketing or something, and I want to have a group with other schools that are on campus.
Sure.
Just for the marketing departments.
Sure.
On that.
Good question. I'll have to look into that now. I was very focused on JCCC. Okay. And, there's times in which, we can share. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay. JCC assistance. When we go to Canvas, there are no such things as widgets like we had in D2L. When you go into D2L and you look at the widgets, you see things that might talk about student videos and different resources and stuff. That does not exist. So what I'm trying to do is under this JCC assistance provide links out to resources. First one is the Technical Support Center. It used to be called the Help Desk. So that's at the top of the list. So students that may need technical assistance, this would take them right to the Help Desk or Technical Support Center. Canvas student guides and Canvas video tutorials. That's also at the top because I'm thinking students. You might go out here and take a look and see what's here. When we look at student guides, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes from Canvas over a variety of different topics. So if I want to know more about how to use, let's say, the calendar tool from a student perspective, there are different links on here. How do I filter the calendar view by course? How do I use the calendar as a student? When I click on this, These are actually documents with a specific URL. So you could put this into a email if you wanted to. And I'm just wanting you to kind of look and see what's out there, because there's a lot of stuff that might help you either answer some of your students' questions or maybe put on a web page. You could put a link out there. A lot of you asking questions about this, blah, blah, blah. Here's where you can find out more information about the following. Keep in mind that URL does not change, but the revision date does. So if there is something that in the last 3 weeks has been updated with this tool, the URL doesn't change. They just update this document. So in theory, that same document should last for years. And they're simply going out there. I like this because Ed is not going out there and trying to figure out what has changed and trying to update it. Canvas is the company that's making all of these changes and making sure that it is up to date and showing us the latest and greatest with that. The other thing besides the guides is going to be video tutorials. So when I go out here and I scroll down, you'll see there are video tutorials on how to do the notification preferences. So, you know, I just did that a few minutes ago. If you want to, you can give them this URL and then go out here and they can play this. It's closed captioned.
In this video, we will learn about notification preferences, which help you manage the frequency and mode.
Okay, so what I'm working on right now is also a tutorial course. Terry's kind of involved in DLAC, and so we're going to try to come up with, you know, here are the top things, students, that you really should know about. You know, how do you set up your notifications and preferences? How do you communicate using your email? How do I check my grades? Okay, there are literally hundreds of these things, but we're going to try to narrow that down so that at least they can get in and figure out where things are at. So right now, I'm going through a lot of these videos. I'm going through a lot of these handouts, trying to figure out what is some of the top things that we should be doing. But I'm sorry, if yours doesn't make the top 10 list, you can still go out here and find that specific tutorial or that specific guide, and either maybe it's for your benefit or maybe it's for a student benefit, that you could come in here and copy this thing and fire it off in an email saying, here's how you do the following. Okay? Because when you contact me, yes, I'm going to tell you on the phone or whatever in person how to do that. But I probably would follow it up with an email that would include one of these different links. And Ed is not going to be up at 2 a.m. in the morning answering your calls, okay? So why not? So this is something that I really think if you have some time, look at this up here. Because not only student guides, there are also instructor guides on all of the different ways to use the instructor tools. Inside the iTeach, I've tried to narrow down those tools and tutorials that I think are beneficial, but I can't put all of them out there. So you may have questions. Maybe it's something that deals with, well, how do I do extra credit? Or how do I drop the lowest test score in a category? Okay, it's out there. It's just you may have to look through these guides. Canvas training, you must have found me somehow. But here's what we're finishing up the month of April and May with. I will start working on summer training. For the summer, I will do fall training. I'm recording these sessions. So, you know, if you miss one, you know, it's available. So spread the word back to your colleagues that it's not just May and I'm done, okay? We will continue to do this training over the summer into the fall. But the feedback that we're getting from a lot of faculty is that, you know, I don't have to take driver's ed over again, okay? I know what I want to do. I know how to drive this vehicle. I just need to know where that thing has been moved to. Okay, if I drove up in a Mercedes or a Lamborghini for my son and said, you got to take driver's ed over, I'd probably be laying on the ground and he'd be zipping away. You know, no matter what that looked, you know, most of you just want to know, where did this go to? Where did it move to? Okay, I know what I want to do for the most part, okay? So as you look at this, we're going to be talking about grades, we're going to be talking about quizzes, we're going to be talking about a lot of these things over the next few weeks. So, I'm not saying don't come back. I'm just saying some of you might decide, oh, I've got some things I need to work on. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the JCC assistance. Migration forms over here. When you click on that, you're going to go out to a website. You might be prompted to log in. Request a service. Here's where you would come up here and say, first one is merging courses. Many of you will not do this. Merging of courses would be taking class rosters and bringing them together into one class. I do have some of my online instructors will do this because they have the same due dates and deadlines. If I were teaching a Monday, Wednesday class and a Tuesday, Thursday class, I probably would not merge these. But if I had multiple sections that might share the same due dates and deadlines, you can bring those rosters together with that. Okay, do any of you currently do any merging of courses sections? I'm just telling you that it's a button, okay? If I don't tell you about it, you're going to click on it and want to know what it does. Source course. Okay, source course is basically an empty course. It's something that you call it whatever you want. As you come on down here, you're going to see questions about department, course title, course number. Okay, you can really fill that out however you want to. I have some faculty that will say, I would like a source course so I can design my summer 8-week class differently than my fall or spring 16-week class. And so maybe you put in here somewhere summer 8-week or fall or spring 16-week. Or I've got a new book that I'm going to be taking a look at. You can ask for as many source courses as you want because they're empty. There's no students in them. They're just your way to kind of build things. And you don't accidentally hit a button and fire off an email to all your students saying, oops, forgot, didn't know that. So there's a source course. The next option up here is going to be migration. So let Ed get his little pen out here. We have D2L right now. Okay. When you put in a migration request, we're going to take the content, which means all of your files. So that might be PowerPoint files, Word files, PDF files. We're going to take your discussions. We're going to take your quizzes and questions. We're going to take any Dropbox parameters and calendar dates from D2L, and we're going to bring those over into a course that is called Migrated. Okay? Now here's what Ed is going to recommend. Look at this and leave it alone.
Okay.
Okay? Here's the rationale. Come June 30th, what happens to D2L? Goes away. Okay? If you go out here and start messing around and go, oops, I didn't mean to get rid of that. Ed, make it come back. Okay? Yes, I can. There are ways I can get to that. But if I have a source course down here, I could copy this down here and then clean it up down here. Okay, I've also been looking at some of your course migrations, people, and you need to do some house cleaning. Okay? There is stuff out there that really, I'm kind of joking, but not really, because I looked at some of these things. Now's your opportunity to do some house cleaning. Leave this thing alone. Know what's up here. Okay? You've got files, you've got quizzes, you've got all kinds of stuff. But here's where you can, bring the whole thing down. We'll talk about how to do this. And then maybe clean it up down here. Do the cleanup in the source course.
So if you have like a summer online and then a fall online, you should have different schedules. Should you migrate both of them?
No, I would just do one because your spring and summer are, okay, now you said.
I have a fall online intro and a summer online intro.
Okay.
So your schedules are different. And then I will teach another course in the fall.
Okay.
So I have 3 different.
I would say maybe look at it from a week delivery perspective. You have a summer class that's 8 weeks,
Yeah.
versus a spring or fall class that's 16 weeks. I don't think you need to necessarily, unless the content is totally different from your spring and fall, I don't think I would do two of them on that. I might just say, one of the most recent ones.
But besides intro, I have another class on research methods, which is.
Yep, bring that over too.
different. Okay.
Yeah, bring that. Any course that you would have content in D2L, go ahead and migrate it over. Even if you come to me and say, Ed, I taught a class in the fall, okay, and I did some things a little different in the spring. Okay, just bring them both over
Okay.
as a migration because maybe you did some things differently. Okay, you still have them here that you could go back to and look at that stuff. I wouldn't go out and do every single class you ever taught, okay? If you go to D2L, you still see Angel stuff. Do not bring that stuff over, okay? Well, maybe if you have to, but I wouldn't say that. Yes.
I had my course migrate D2L to have it MS.
Migrated,
Migrate, okay, migrated.
Sorry.
So it's migrated. If I wanted to, that will stay there come August. It will be
Exactly.
there in August,
Yes,
now that it's migrated.
correct.
And if I want to play with it, I should have a source course associated with that. Bring it all back out, but then start having, adding and subtracting and doing things. And then when I'm happy with that, that becomes the course.
Yep. Okay, so once you get this the way you want it to, then you can copy this into maybe a fall class or spring class, whatever you want to.
Yeah, my course is, if the outline of the course doesn't change, the lectures may change and the content. Now when I'm seeing that, I'm seeing syllabus. But if I have lectures in so-called content, usually I have to refresh it. They start politically and no more talking about Ike Eisenhower. Now we're going to talk about Donald Trump.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It could be that old.
Sure.
And so what you're telling me is now that I've migrated and I've got all of my content there as well, including lectures, then I should make sure that stays there, but have a source course, play with it, break things down, and do some changes, and then have that come.
That's Ed's recommendation. I mean, some of you might have very, very simple courses. Okay, maybe there is not a lot of stuff in there that you worry about. You might look at this thing and say, works for me, and you just take it right straight down to here. Okay, that may be the case. But all I'm saying is if you have a lot of stuff and you do not want to risk losing any of that stuff, just bring it down here and then make your changes over here. Okay.
And we fill out this form and say, take my migrated course and give me a separate source course. Bring it all into source course. And I'll let you know when it's spruced up enough to call it a fall.
Okay. Well, here's what we do. We'll create a source course. We will migrate the content, and I will train you how to copy the stuff from one space
Okay,
over here.
fine.
Okay. Okay.
You mean you won't push the buttons?
Well, I do push buttons. Okay. I will.
Okay.
But that's probably not the form that you're going to do that with. Okay.
Okay.
So does this make sense? I mean, this is Ed's thoughts about it because I don't want you to lose anything. And not that if you did, I couldn't get to it. We are doing backups, as I said. But it's going to take a little time for me to go through and find those backups and restore them to do that. And also, it's time for you guys to kind of take a look and see, oh, wow. I found some classes just here recently still said WebCT in them. And really? So, time taking inventory, see what's going on with that. The other thing that we might do is because when we were using calendar dates in D2L, we pulled all those events over. And when we look out there, there could be literally hundreds of calendar dates in this migrated file that we may want to strip those calendar dates out and start from scratch because it will make it a lot cleaner moving forward with that. Okay? So you know how to request a migrated course, you know how to request a source, you can have as many source courses as you want. If you want every class that you ever taught in D2L, fine, go ahead, Just keep in mind it's going to be added to your list down there at the bottom to do that with. All right, so let's go back over here. Let's see if there's anything else. Search guides, this is once again opportunity for you to go through and look at what Canvas has out there. So sometimes you could say extra credit. How do they do that? How do you handle something within the Canvas environment? When you call me or my staff and we don't know the answer, we're probably going to go here. We're going to take a look and see what buzzwords can I come up with. Ask the community, kind of similar, only that there could be feature enhancements that maybe Canvas currently does not have. And so, when you have thousands of schools out there, you've got thousands of ideas. Chances are maybe the idea that you have, or maybe the lack of something that you perceive, has already been asked by someone else. And then you can gang up on them and get this to happen, okay? It's part of the kind of a cool community that Canvas has, is that if something gets enough momentum, it pushes forward with that, okay? So does this make sense? All this stuff along the side. If I go back up here and I click on the dashboard and I only want certain cards to show up on the dashboard, how do I do that? What if I don't want this one to show up on my dashboard, this OER?
3 dots.
Okay, not the 3 dots. I'm going to go down here to courses, and I'm going to say all courses, and then I'm going to come over here and take the star off over here on the left-hand side. Okay. All right, so let me do this. Let me look at a course that we actually migrated so we can see what came over first, and I'll kind of explain that. This is a course that we migrated from D2L. So the first thing that I see up here is home, and I see a structure. This would be very similar to the content tab in D2L. When I go in D2L and I click on content, it's going to have a series of folders. And so it shows me folders and it shows me things inside of here. D2L called it content. Canvas calls it modules. And so, the same kind of thing, it's just how I organize it. Different icons up here represent different things. So getting started is going to be a page. And we're going to talk about pages. Orientation handout is a paperclip. So this could be a PowerPoint file, it could be a PDF file, it could be a Word document, anything that is a file that was brought over from D2L that is in that content tab would show up here. Page, 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 a link out here, looks like a chain. This little spacecraft jet looking thing is a quiz. I don't understand their icons, but if you see an airplane, spaceship looking thing, that indicates that that is a quiz. This little icon over here represents a discussion. So the point is that when you migrate it, go out and start looking at what was brought over. I think you'll be fairly pleased with what came over. Now, let me just see if I can find an example to show you. If I go over here to today. Okay, so here would be the content tab over in D2L. So I have like a README first. And so when I come over here to modules up here, you'll notice that the text is missing right here. So D2L, allowed us to put text between items. This would be like description text or other things. Canvas strips some of that out. Or it may take this and put this into a separate page. So this is one of the things you might take advantage of right now because you have both systems. You might say, I'm going to open up D2L in one window, I'm going to open up Canvas in the other window, I'm going to kind of flip back and forth to see what doesn't look the same. You know, what is not coming together like it did in D2L? These are the things that you will not find. They may be separate pages, or this text down here, it will show up, but it may be after you click on that particular item that it shows up. It's not going to give you all that details. The other thing that you're going to see is your discussions will come across, drop boxes will come across, quizzes will come across, grades will come across. So all this stuff will show up over here in here. So if I look at my discussions today, oh, this is a different one. It will show up. This is a different class. I don't know why I clicked on that one. But I think you'll be pleased with what you see that comes across. What does not come across? Well, the first thing that doesn't come across is your widgets. So if you go back here to the front page of a Canvas or D2L course, some of you, if I ever get this to show up, these little boxes, these are called widgets. Goes away. We do not have widgets in Canvas. Now what we have is the ability to create a page or pages that might look similar to this. I'm not going to do it today. On Thursday, we're going to talk about that, how we can create a page that might have a similar look and feel to that. The other thing is that in Canvas, we do not have what we call replacement strings. So if I go out here to, let me look and see if I can find an announcement. Well, anyway, in D2L, you might see something that says bracket first name, bracket last name, and that's what we call a replacement string. And so, you know, you feel really cute and special because you're, you know, identifying by their first and last name. Canvas does not have that. So if you use anything called replacement strings in D2L, you need to be aware of that and strip that out of Canvas. The other thing to kind of look at would be your questions. If you did anything in D2L that might have done randomized question pools, okay, the questions will come over. It's the randomization that you're going to have to rebuild. So if you said pull 10 questions from a pool of 100, you're going to get those 100 questions, but you're just going to have to rebuild that randomization with that. We've been pretty pleased with any graphics. So if you had questions that might have had images embedded in them, those should come across okay. It does a very good job on true and false and multiple choice questions, but if you do things like matching or multiple select, we may need to take a look at those questions and make sure they are behaving themselves. Do not assume that just because you see the questions that they are behaving themselves. So you may have to go out and do a preview of the quiz and make sure the questions look okay and do all that stuff. Canvas does not have a checklist. So if you use checklist in Canvas that say, you know, done, done, done like that, it does not have that. You know, we can come up with some other things that might do the same thing. But for the most part, just about everything that we have been using in D2L will come across and is usable. Okay. Let me come back over here and we'll just talk about a couple of other things. When you come into a course, you're going to see over here on the right side something that says choose the home page. We're going to talk about do a deep dive on Thursday, but what this says is that when they click on that card on the dashboard, what do you want those students to see? So some people might say, well, I want them to see course modules, which is similar to the course content tab in D2L. Some faculty might say, I want them to see the syllabus, because dang it, they don't read the syllabus. Okay, now what I want you to keep in mind is that this is changeable. You could say the first couple days of the semester, yes, I want them to see the syllabus. Then once I get past that few days, I can switch it over to something else. So the homepage is up to you to decide what you want them to see and when you want them to see it. If I said modules, modules is still going to show up over here on the left-hand side as an option to choose from, as will assignments. I'm just throwing this out there that you may decide that you start your semester with one starting point, but then you change it as you go through the semester. You don't have to do that, but I'm just saying you could if you wanted to. Then as you come down to the home stretch, at the very end of the semester, you could say assignments, because assignments are going to show the students points. Which ones have they completed? Which ones have they not completed? So maybe like those last week or so of the semester, hey, everybody, this is what's on my list of things. Now's your chance to argue, plead, cry, whatever you want to do with that. The other thing that I'm starting to see is because it does not have a set of widgets on Canvas, is that some faculty are creating their own homepage that has graphics on it and welcome messages and stuff. So on Thursday, we're going to talk about how to do that. So I just want to let you know, you have the choice of which, tool or, what they see that first time they log in, and then you can switch that as you go through the semester if you want to, okay? So the home page is that way. The other thing you see over here is going to be student view. So if you're ever working on something, you can say, oh, I wonder what the student sees. You click on student view and it's going to flip some stuff over here and puts this little blue or purple thing around, and so you will see exactly what the students will see. To get back out of it, there's a leave student view. There's right next to it reset student. What that means is that if you start to take a quiz, it will actually go to the grade book. So you can try out the grade book, making sure things populate. You can upload files, participate in discussions, and all that kind of stuff, and that would go to the grade book. If you want to reset that so that it's empty, you would just say reset the student, and then everything is cleared up again. I see this being used especially like if I'm testing out a quiz. I go through and I do the quiz. Oh man, the bad question, or it's not behaving itself. Maybe I only give you one shot at it. Okay, so I could say reset, fix the question, and try it again and see if it works as you go back through here. So the student view is something that's been in other LMSs. It's something that I think you'll want to continue to use. The other thing is right now if I say leave student view and I come back, you'll see little green boxes over here. Okay, these are what we call publish. Publish means visible to student. So student view is another way that you can go, wow, what is your problem? I can see the dang thing. Well, I might look at that and I say, well, what's this little empty box over here? Well, and what was happening back in January is that I had some faculty that were not clicking on these things. Actually, they weren't clicking on the modules because you can publish a module or not publish a module. They're doing a very good job of publishing the content, but they were not publishing the modules themselves. So that's something to think about. That student view, why isn't it showing up? Well, look for those little circles out there that might say publish on them as to whether they're visible. And not publishing is your opportunity to work on it. Okay, you could be working on this thing. I don't want you guys to see this thing yet. I want it to be a surprise. Okay, so I mean that's something that a strategy you might use. Announcements. I'm looking at my clock. Okay, we're doing fine. Announcements would be like the news tool within D2L. You can go out and actually, put things out there that then appear on the main dashboard when those students log in. So there might be competing with other news messages from other students, but this is how you can do that. Assignments. Assignments we're going to talk about in probably next week is really anything that might be Dropbox related or that has a grade attached to it. Okay. Canvas uses the assignment term very broadly. If it has a grade attached to it, it could come from a quiz, it could come from a discussion, it could come from a Dropbox. So anything that might have a grade attached is going to appear inside of the assignment box. Discussions works very similar to D2L. You can have lots of things like post first and all those kinds of tools that we saw in D2L. Grades, the thing that we're going to spend an entire day talking about on the grade book is do not go to the grade tool and expect to build anything. Okay, this took me a while because I've been using WebCT, I've been using Angel, I've been using D2L, and I'm going, where do I build anything? Okay, and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked and I went to my staff and I go, Ed, you don't build grades in the grade book. Well, where do you build them? The assignment tool. Okay, so once you get that mind shift, it makes sense. The grade book in Canvas is more of a reporting tool. Okay, it will let you enter a number, value, but don't expect to build a column in the grade tool. You have to go back and do that in other locations. So, you know, we're going to go over that more in detail. People, this would be who's in your class. You know, here's my little profile picture over here. Thank goodness it's kind of small. I can't see it. But, you know, you'll start to see people that appear. Pages. This is where, as you start to migrate content over from D2L, you might see instructions that you might have had in D2L, okay, that will come over. We're going to be maybe talking about how we can use Pages as a way to navigate through Canvas, so we'll talk about that. Files, this is where if you had files inside of D2L, maybe these were like PDF files, maybe they were Word files, maybe they were PowerPoint files, you're going to see that inside of the Canvas environment. Syllabus, it has its own syllabus tool. So we'll talk about that in more detail, that you can either make a link to a PDF or a Word document, or some of you might want to consider just using a copy and paste option and pasting it into their HTML editor. We're going to talk about this in detail on Thursday. And I like this approach because if you put hyperlinks in here, they are hyperlinks. If you put links out there to other things that actually work, okay, and none of you have ever made a mistake on a syllabus, okay, I know that you've never made a mistake, okay. If I had a PDF file there, I'd have to go hunt that thing down and figure out, now, where is that thing at? I can't find it. If it was actually a text here, you can make that change right here inside of the syllabus tool, and it updates it automatically. So if some of you, I know what you do, you copy it from one semester to the next, right? And then you go up there and you change that little thing at the top, all right? Which is great. That's what most of you do.
Develop certain syllabus
You do?
Stuff that, you know, with the evaluation we're getting, now we have to put more stuff in.
Oh,
You know?
well, let me finish this.
You
And
could do that right there.
yeah, you can. On what's been last Thursday, I went to a session Sherry Barrett did with K-State on outcomes. Now, we're not ready for it. Maybe you're ready for it. If you're ready for it, I'll help you. But right now, you might say, I'm not ready.
I'm doing this now.
Okay, good, fine.
Yeah.
Not everyone is, but if you're ready, I'm ready. Okay,
Okay.
to help you with that. Quizzes, once again, these should come over okay. Thing is, check your questions, making sure that the questions come across. Modules is like the content tab. These would be like folders that you have and the content inside of there. Conferences, Canvas has its own version of web conferencing software. Right now I'm using Zoom, okay, to broadcast out. Canvas has its own web conferencing software. I'm not going to go a lot of detail today. I'll do that on the communication day. But the why I would maybe consider it is that it's a very restricted conference environment that only people in your class can get into. Zoom could be something that other people outside the college could get into. This is very much just the students that are in there. Collaborations, that deals with connections to Google types of documents. So if I had a Google Word document or a word processing document, I can have multiple people working on this at the same time. I don't know who still uses chat. It's a tool, okay? What I see more and more today is going to be the use of email or live chatting like Zoom. But if you do use chat, that's there. Attendance is a tool that they could do a better job on. Basically, this would let me say, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, and then can generate a report. But it's not the easiest report for the instructor to understand, and I'll show that to you later. Lockdown browser. Do any of you use a lockdown browser?
I did this.
Okay. For some reason, this third-party software that we bought will not, it wants to be in the main menu, okay? Even though it's an option, it's not something that you have to use. It wants to be there, so I'm trying to get it off of the main menu so that it's an option to choose from. How would I do that, you say? Well, I go in here to Settings. Settings is going to be like the Edit Course button in D2L. You know where that's at, the very far right button in D2L? Settings is what you all, as instructors, will see. Students will not see the Settings button. When I come into Settings, I see a Details tab. Here's where I can upload images. So if you remember the dashboard that had those different images, if you want to go out here and have fun, go ahead. If you want to come upstairs and say, Bob, help me, Bob will help you, as will somebody else. Start and end dates. These are the things that we will bring over from Banner. If these are migrated courses or source courses, we do not put dates in them. They're just open all the time. But anything that might have a Banner pull, you can go in and change. You can let them in early if you want to. If you have an incomplete and you want to extend that, here's where you would do that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm not going to go into all the details here except to say here's where a lot of your instructor flexibility and stuff comes from. Navigation, this is what I was talking about earlier. When I go into navigation, I can say I don't use this tool. 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 What tool does Ed use? Well, he uses some of these, okay? So, and then I can also change the order. So if I want the syllabus up at the top, okay, I can put this in here. So under Settings, Navigation tab, you have the ability to decide which tools you want to have show up here at the top and in what order you want. Do not ask me to rename these tools. It will not happen, okay? Quizzes are quizzes, end of conversation. But you can decide which ones you want to appear up above. And so some of you might decide that's what you want to do. These are only the tools that I want to have visible. And then there's this very, very important button down here called Save, okay? Just because you drag and drop doesn't mean it's going to memorize what you just did. So you're going to have to save that. I'm looking at the clock. The other thing that we have out here are apps. These are for third-party kinds of connections. What I would really recommend is that if you want to connect to something that is a third-party app, come talk to me. Okay, these are not free. Do not assume that these are free. Just because you click on them and see that they're really cool tools, do not mean that they don't cost us something. A lot of third-party applications may come from publishers. We are already talking with a lot of publishers on this campus. So we already have arrangements with McGraw-Hill and Cengage and Pearson. If you come back over here to navigation, you'll see down here at the bottom that these are, if you drag them and drop them up above, you get the automatic connection to some of these publishers down here. So if you are working with third-party applications, come talk to me. It's not that I'm going to say you can't do it. I just want to make sure that if we do it, you're not going to get a bill in the mail and remember, when did this happen? Ed told me it was okay. Okay, so, and then finally, feature options. Every 3 weeks, Canvas is tweaking things and changing things. And so when these feature enhancements come across my desk and I start looking at what's going on, I will probably do a preview of it to see, does it impact Johnson County Community College? Some of these things I never want you to see, okay? Ed, Why would you do that? Well, there's a couple tools out there that are very much designed for K-12. Okay, there's a functionality that says parent access. Okay, I don't think you want parents in college seeing, what their students do. I don't think your students want their parents knowing what they do. And because this is a tool that is used in K-12, those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. And a lot of times I'll turn those things off. If it's something, though, that comes in every 3 weeks, they typically will go into what we call a beta stage. So the default is going to be turned off. And I'll then pass those on to you to say, okay, faculty, you decide right over here to the right if you want to turn those on for your classes. This could have been something that you've been waiting months for. And you say, Ed, I need it. I'm saying, well, okay, you can turn it on for your class, but the rest of the campus might be waiting a while before we turn that on. So when I look at a list, I see this thing that says turn it on, allow, or turn it off. If it's something that I don't want you to see, like K-12 kinds of things, I just turn it off and you never see it. If it's something that the whole campus has said, it's about time, okay, I will turn it on for everyone. Or I will say allow, which means you have the ability, each one of you, to turn these things on or off. Does that make sense? Okay. One of the things that you see that is turned on over here is the new grade book. Back in July, we went to the users conference and they announced a brand new grade book at the users conference. And I said, why would I want to train my faculty on an old grade book, okay, if you guys are eventually going to see a new grade book? So back in August, I said, just turn this new grade book on so I don't have to train you twice. And so that's why you don't really see an option, is because we're training on the new grade book and some of the other things that come along with that, okay? So this is where if you see and hear of things, you would have the ability to turn that on. You can also, by course, maybe you could go into a source course and try it out and see, ooh, I don't know if I like that or not to turn that on. And this is kind of also things that in DLAC, okay? Some of you guys might come to me and say, Ed, please don't turn that on. Or Ed, please turn it on. These are the kinds of things that your colleagues do have conversations about. Okay, I've got 5 more minutes. Under the settings, see where it says share to commons? Okay, if you had something that you really liked and you were willing to share that with somebody out there, this is where you would push that out to the space. You could also push this into your JCC Commons area as well, so it doesn't have to go all the way out there. You have the ability to student view, course statistics. We're going to talk about that more in detail as we start to look at a course that has stuff going on. An empty course will have no statistics. Okay, so many of your source courses, you will not see anything. Course calendar takes you there. Conclude this course. You may see that removed because when a course in production, I don't want you to conclude the course before the end of the semester. So you may not see that. Deleting the course, I don't know that I'm going to let you do that either, okay? Just because you don't like your students and don't like your class doesn't mean you can delete that. So these could be a couple of those things that you may not see on your list. Maybe I only see that. Import course content, we're going to do a little overview when we talk about moving stuff from one course into the other. So that's where we would start that conversation. Export course content, maybe we do see it right now. We have one we call instance for credit on this campus using Canvas. We have another instance for continuing ed. So our continuing ed colleagues over here, they have a whole other Canvas environment that they're using to teach continuing ed courses. We could export something out of the credit instance using the export button and then import it in. I've got some courses that are currently credit classes that they're working on offering them on the continuing ed side. So that might be a time that I would do an export process. Reset the course, okay? This is something that was hard for me but good, okay? Because you guys would call me and say, Ed, I got the wrong course. I copied the wrong course, okay? So I'd go out there and I'd delete, and get rid of everything. Okay, so if you do this, see the big red button, okay? Also see there, this is irreversible. Are you sure you wish to continue? Okay, I would never do this to a course that's in the middle of a semester. Never, ever, ever, ever. Okay, now what I might do is before this course ever started, I go, oh dang, this is the wrong course. Or, can I just start this thing over again and go back and maybe migrate content over again? Or, here's another thing you guys do, is you teach these classes and you start the semester and you tweak it. So you end up with a class at the end of the semester that's much different than the end of that class, right? All of us do it. So you might say, well, Ed said having a backup is a good idea. Having something that I can always go back to. You could say, reset this source course and then copy that production course back here so you always have the most recent version of something. Why would I do that? Well, sometimes we change ownership of classes. I hope that's never happened to you. But, we get down to the start date of a class and we have to switch instructors around. So you've been sitting out here building, and all of a sudden you get an email from the chair or the dean that says, ooh, I have to give this class to somebody else. Okay, nothing personal. I just need to make sure that this is being taken care of. I've been building all my stuff out here, getting ready for the semester. Well, we're going to give it to somebody else, okay? If you have it over here in your source course, you've got everything. We're not going to take that source course away from you. As opposed to this, if it could get reassigned to someone else. So I'm just throwing that out there. The source courses are also good places to put your backup things, okay? And Terry does like this reset button because, she can wipe everything out and start over again, all right? So that's kind of an overview today of what Canvas looks like. What I would encourage you to do is to go out, request course migrations, request your source courses, okay? Start taking inventory, going out there, looking at stuff. If you want to, open up one thing in D2L, open up another thing in Canvas and switch back and forth. Okay, here's what I've got, here's what I've got. Does everything kind of look like it's come across? What has changed? What doesn't look right? Ed, help me, okay? And so that's kind of what I want you to start doing. On Thursday, we're going to go out and start looking at how to design and build courses using tools like the modules tool. We're going to talk about maybe the syllabus tool. How can I go and use that tool a little bit? I'm going to go out and show you some things I found in the comments from other schools that are using, instead of widgets, using pages to kind of show you what that entry page might look like. And so that's kind of what our plans are for Thursday, is to continue along that path. Okay, questions? Did I overwhelm you yet? Okay.
No, are we gonna have quizzes and things like that? I was notified that I had a late quiz. It's like,
Okay,
what?
have we finished? Did you do iTeach?
I don't remember signing up for it.
Okay, well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. iTeach is required for people to teach online at Johnson County Community College. If you remember completing iTeach back in Angel or D2L days, you are grandfathered.
Okay.
Okay? What I'm trying to do is to avoid having 10 places I have to go to. So I'm putting everybody that wants to know anything about Canvas into this iTeach class. If you want to teach for us online, yes, you're going to need to do the homework, which includes every lesson a discussion, every lesson a quiz, and every lesson kind of a homework of something you're working on.
So when you enrolled for this, it automatically enrolled you into that. So
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but I did the quiz.
Well, thank you, thank you. Now,
If you're face to face, are we safe?
Okay.
now, the other reason I do that is I want you to have a student experience. I want you to see what it looks like from the student side. So when you go into iTeach, you're going to see discussions going on. You're going to see the opportunity to take a quiz. You're going to see the opportunity to upload something into a Dropbox. So you can really use that student experience to see what that might be like. And you can get frustrated just like your students do on that. So I'm trying to kind of give that model. But no, if you're in a face-to-face class, I think you'll be fine.
Okay, good. You said quiz on the common guide. What did I just miss? Okay.
And I let you take those quizzes as many times as you want. Okay?
I pushed it to the limit, I answered things wrong just to see.
See if it, okay. All right, people, any other questions? I've been talking since 9 o'clock this morning.
You're good.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
We'll see you on Thursday then.
Thursday.
Say hello, guys.
A lot of it's coming back.
Okay.
It's a little different.
I teach courses,
I mean,
just
that was
like
for those
it's
2 years
training,
now.
and it just kind of tells you what stuff you have to do. But once you
Well, I'd love to know what K-State's doing that we're not too. So,
I talked to her last summer, so I can get on, I still have
sometimes you
access.
do it and you're already enrolled.
So
Okay.
we look at it.
Oh, that's
Well, it's not really because I help teach their multicultural class in the summer. And so, so I'm a guest teacher.
And actually, I think the end date is like
So they still have
right
me
when this.
log in and come
Hey,
on.
end date to the iTeach. No one told her she had to take the iTeach. And
no.
she's teaching a summer online
Okay,
class.
there's no end date.
Okay, so she, as long as she finishes it before she starts. Okay. Yes.
And you are, your name?
Mindy.
That's not, that's not.
No one told her.
Okay.
What division are you in? Computer science.
Okay, well, that would be like Deb Elder and,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So, yeah,
We're gonna try to make it as painless as possible.
I told her she's enrolled in all of these. You can just take the quizzes and stuff as you go. and-
Yeah. Well, and so
Colleges.
I was an adjunct for a few semesters, and then like I interviewed Monday, got a job offer on Tuesday, sent contract on Friday, started teaching the following Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't been through Lynn's or
Oh, wow.
that stuff either, you know,
Sure.
so I'm
Well-
just kind of like,
Well, it's nice to meet you. I had a great
You too. Hi, Erin, thank you.
Yep, you're
Hi,
welcome.
thanks.
So yeah, just talk to me.
Okay.
We'll work things out.
all right. I shall do it.
We'll stop recording, I think. There we go.